What's going on? I'm KM Best, and I'm here to talk to you about Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Negasonic is a 3-cost, 4-power card with text that reads, when after any card is played here, destroy this card and that card. Now, this is a card that's gotten a lot of people pretty excited. I will say, though, my preliminary report, having played with her a little bit, I can't find many situations in which she is the best thing to be doing. Now, when I evaluate cards like this, the number one thing that I look for is when is she going to be better than comparable options, right? Like, when will I be excited to see Negasonic? When will I be like, oh man, I'm so happy I drew her? And I have not found very many of those spots. So I have 3 decks to highlight before we jump into the rating portion of this video. But right now, I will say my preliminary view on Negasonic is not very optimistic. I don't think it's like you put Negasonic in your deck and your deck immediately sucks. I think it's just there's usually something better you can be doing than Negasonic. So let's jump into the decks. Here's the first deck I put together for Negasonic. It's a very simple thought process. What if she's good in Sarah? With the nerf to Arrow, Arrow is no longer in these decks, so now we're just going to try playing Negasonic as a way to lock up lanes on the final turn of the game. However, one of the big things you need to make Negasonic work is priority. And this deck does have a couple of struggles getting priority. I think there are situations in which you are excited to see Negasonic, but they are few and far between. Namely, when you have priority with Sarah on the board and you can play Negasonic to lock up a lane, she's pretty good in that spot. It's just sort of an open question as to whether you actually need her to do that, or if you could be playing something maybe like a bigger unit, or maybe a Juggernaut, or any number of comparable 3-drops. I do think she gets a lot of benefit from, her downside isn't actually that bad. It's like a 3/4. She is not a card that you can't run on rate, like Shadow King as a 4/3, just on rate unplayable. Negasonic has a better stat line, so even if she's useless, she can put stats on the board if you do not have priority. There is something to be said for that. It does make her a little bit better than some of the truly atrocious Series 5 cards that we've seen in the past. And this is, in my opinion, likely the best shell for her, but that might just be because it's the best deck. It's the one where her downside is, who actually cares? You'd play a 2/4, if you play Sarah, you play a Negasonic, that's fine. You're not like that upset about it when it happens. It's fine. On to the even more pay-to-win Galactus list. Negasonic's inclusion here gives us, a little bit more of an ability to pump Nimrods out onto the board. So, our backup plan of having, Shuri, Nimrod, Destroyer. If in the games we don't draw Galactus, now we can go Negasonic, Shuri, Nimrod, Destroyer, end up with more Nimrods than we would have previously. It's good, actually, here. Like, it's not amazing. You're very rarely going to be wanting to play it rather than, say, Null on turn 6 after a Galactus, or some of the other cards like Electro, you're usually going to want to ramp instead of playing Negasonic unless you have the full combo in hand. But just giving you a little bit of extra options, it's not bad. It's not bad. I can't say it's bad. I think, the card we replaced for Negasonic in here was Psylocke, and I don't think that's, necessarily wrong. It's one of the things, there was some inherent tension in the deck between the ramp cards and the fact that we wanted to play a Galactus on turn 6. This is a shell where she is closest to being something functional. It's just, this is a really expensive deck. I don't know if, I guess if you're contemplating buying Negasonic, you probably spent a lot of money already. Maybe you have these cards, but I get the sense that this is a shell where, you actually are excited to see her on occasion. It's not the end of the world when she shows up. There actually isn't something that could reasonably replace her in this shell. There's nothing that's going to make that Shuri Nimrod game plan that much better in a proactive manner. So this is a situation in which, she actually is doing something to help you. And also because your game plans are so disparate, right? Like you have these multiple game plans, you pick one early and you commit to it, you know, you don't always end up having to play her, and that's also pretty reasonable. I also tried her in a Death Wave shell. She has like this little bit where she's like kind of cool. You know, you play her on turn 3, you kill your opponent's 3-drop, and you know that's like 2 kills that help discount your death. That's mostly what she's doing in here. With the nerf to Arrow, you sort of think, you know, maybe I can just put her on a lane and win, and put a death on another lane and win, and you know, that didn't seem to happen for me very much. I can see how it would. We also have a Nimrod included in here, you know, with the idea that we can go, you know, Negasonic into Nimrod somewhere along the way. It's not the worst thing to have as an option. I'm not very sold on her in this shell. I was rarely happy to see her on the merits. A lot of the time, you know, my opponent was more happy to see her than I was. Like, I'd play her, they'd play a Shuri into it, and they only lose 2 power, and I lose 4, and it's like, oh, well, that kind of sucks. I think, basically, I have not found anywhere for Negasonic where she is significantly better than any of the other cards that could be in the deck instead of her. Now, that takes me to the final portion of this video, the overall rating. I rate my cards on a 1 to 5 scale, and 5 is you must buy this. It is phenomenal. It is outstanding. 4 is you should buy this card. It should be a high priority target under the ones in 5. 3 is don't buy this. Like, 3 is don't buy this. It's cool, but not worth the 6,000. 2 is you should in no circumstances buy this card. Wait for it to downgrade every single time. It's not even that cool. It doesn't even do that much. And 1 is Shadow King and Sentry. And on this scale, I think that Negasonic would likely be somewhere between a 1 and a 2. So I'm gonna steal a little line from Anthony Fantano here. I'm feeling a light 2 on Negasonic Teenage Warhead. You could even say maybe a heavy 1. I am not someone who will ever recommend that you buy this card. I think that you will be able to do everything you want in Marvel Snap without ever touching this card. I think that it is absolutely not something you should be spending 6,000 collector's tokens on. Frankly, I regret spending those 6,000 collector's tokens. She's not god-awful. Like, she's not Shadow King. Shadow King is, like, if Negasonic had a worse stat line, then she'd be Shadow King. But her downside is, like, you know, okay, she's like a Cyclops who's occasionally not awful, right? Like, it's a very, very narrow card. And because she is so narrow, that means that you need to have a very specific reason to play her. It's hard to find those specific reasons to play her. And I'm not saying she is Shadow King 2, because again, her stat line's a little bit better. It's fine. I do think she's in that vein, though. If you have something that's been super cool with Negasonic, and please let me know in the comments, because I am at this point desperate. I would love to play a cool Negasonic deck, but I cannot figure out for the life of me where she fits and is actually better than other comparable options. I could take a deck and make it a little worse by putting her in there and still probably win with it, but that's not the same thing. So outside of the ones I've shown you, I truly have no idea. Please let me know in the comments below if you had any success with Negasonic. I would say that this is a good one for most people to skip, and also a good one for the free-to-play players to laugh at anyone who bought this card, like your boy. I will see you in the next one. As always, this has been KM Best. Like, subscribe. I'll see you later. Oh, we just took her out of the deck? Holy shit, did you see that deck get better there, chat? That's crazy.